Hello and welcome to today's podcast. I am Jen Bjornson. I am wanting to talk to you about mindset, also lying to ourselves, because let's face it, we all lie to ourselves. Everybody lies to themselves. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are live in the country. We lie to ourselves. We lie to our partner. We lie to our people we're in community with. We lie to about our finances. We lie about everything. And before you just shut me off and go, like, if this is triggering, before you just shut me off, hear me out. The lie that we tell ourselves and everybody tells themselves is the fact that we're not smart enough. We're not um, tan enough. We're not, tall enough. We're not short enough. We're not pretty enough. We're not skinny enough. We're not thick enough. We're not like, it's something enough. I don't make enough money. I make too much money. Like, it's something that's not enough. And we have so many variations of this lie that we tell ourselves. And it's the main reason, the lie that we're telling to ourselves, it's the main reason as to why we're not getting what we want. Everybody on the face of this planet, all the time, what they're looking for is either something to do with like their physical health, something to do with financial health, something to do with relationships. Every single person, that is exactly when I talk to people, when I see people, that is the biggest complaint. They want more money, they want better relationships, they want better physical health, something along those lines. Okay. And the main reason as to why they're not getting it is because they're lying to themselves. They're lying about what they're telling themselves. They're lying about the fact that they're not pretty enough, or they don't deserve that relationship, or they don't deserve the money, or, somebody else is better qualified for XYZ. So here's the thing. We got to stop lying to ourselves. We got to stop lying to our partners. We got to stop lying about finances. We have to stop lying to ourselves. It's the only way. You have to get so ridiculously honest. And you have to get so ridiculously honest in both whether it's good, or you have to get so ridiculously honest if it's not good. If it's good or if it's not good. Like, let me give you an example. I can't tell you how many times I was the person who I would go into a situation and I'd be like, I'm just going to be positive. Like, oh my gosh, it's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal. Oh, this person is clearly acting in a way that's crossing my boundaries. And yet I stuck around. I didn't do anything about it. And I'm just like, oh, I'll just, let's sweep it under the rug. Like, just shove those feelings down. Let's not actually deal with this situation. Let's just like shove it down, keep pushing it down, keep going down. Like, oh, and then they cross the boundary again. Oh, you know what? I'm sure they didn't mean to, right? You make the situation better than what it is. On the flip side, how many times, including myself, I'm raising my hand, how many times have we been that person that makes the situation so much worse than what it actually is? It's actually not that bad, but we're like, oh, this is killing me. I'm dying. I'm literally dying. This is horrific. This is horrible. I can't stand this. Like, we go so extreme, and it's not true. It's not an honest conversation that we're having with ourselves. One, we're making the situation better, and it's not an honest conversation. That no, we shouldn't let people cross our boundaries. That's our boundary. That's the rule that we have. That's what we want. That's the lifestyle, the relationship or whatever. That's what we want. And to allow people to continuously trespass and go past that boundary, it's not okay. And we make it so much better. Like, it's fine. They didn't mean to. They don't mean it that way. However you want to put it, we make it better than what it actually is. On the flip side, how many times do we make it so much worse than what it actually is? It's not that big of a deal. Like, it's not as traumatic as we're making it. Like, oh, this is killing me. I'm dying. This job is the worst. I'm dying in this job. My coworkers are awful, right? They might not be the most pleasant people. There might be something better out there, but the interesting thing is we make things so much worse, or we make it so much better, and that's part of the lie. Because instead of looking at the situation exactly the way it is, we make it better, we make it worse, and then we make ourselves the victim as to why we can't get out of it. Well, I know they cross a boundary, but like, who else is going to love me? I might as well stay in this relationship. I might as well deal with this because my own parents didn't love me. Who's ever going to love me? It's a lie. It's just the lie that we tell ourselves. I'm not good enough for a better relationship. I'm not good enough for that job, or I'm not good enough to make more money. It's a lie. These lies have to stop. And the biggest thing that we have to tell ourselves, or the biggest thing that we have to start with, is being so insanely honest with ourselves, so radically honest. The reality of looking at a situation and going, okay, maybe I don't like this job. However, is this the best situation for right now? Is this the best situation? Right? Like, am I choosing this job because it gets me what I want for right now? It's not that you can't change the job. It's not that you're stuck in it forever. It's just, is that the best situation for right now? If not, get out of the job, leave the job. Oh, but you don't understand. I love that phrase. You don't understand. You're right. I don't understand. I don't understand why you're saying something that isn't the best for you at that time. I get if you're making moves. I get if you can't leave at that second. I understand that. What I don't understand is staying in something for years and years and years because you don't understand. I don't get that. If you're staying in something because it's the best situation for that moment, you're making moves to get out of it, totally get it. Been there, you can't, you always can't just dive into something. I get that. But make a move. Figure it out. How long? Set a date. When are you leaving? When are you doing this? When are you doing XYZ to get out of the situation? What is it that you have to do? And I'll bet if you start looking at it that way, this is where you start finding the things that you're lying to yourself about. Because now you're not the victim. Now you're the person who's going to get yourself out of it. Because now you honestly have to look at yourself and you have to say, okay, I'm not doing XYZ because I don't think I'm good enough, because I don't think I'm lovable, because I don't think anybody else is ever going to love me, because I don't think I'm smart enough for that job, because I would rather stay in this bubble of comfort than put myself out and be rejected. That's usually what it comes out to be. I'm protecting myself because I'd rather stay in this little perfect bubble of ease and comfort because life is scary and I just don't want to be inconvenienced because I don't want to find out what if people really, really don't love me? What if there's nobody out there and this is the best I'm ever going to get? That's a lot better than finding out that I really am unlovable. And that's not true. It's just not true. That's the lie that we all tell ourselves. And the reality is, I don't care. I don't care what you're into or how weird you think it is. There are other people into it. You go look at some of the podcasts. Go look at some of the podcasts out there and go start like diving into like Pokemon, Star Wars. It's the weirdest stuff and not bad stuff. It's just not stuff I'm into. And it's kind of like a weird combination of stuff that you would never, ever put together. And somebody's into it. Somebody out there. So if you can find these weird little funny combinations that people find joy and happiness in, you're going to find your people somewhere. It's just we stay in this little perfect bubble, telling ourselves these little lies. And I'm gonna give you a hint. Here's where they come from. At some point, at some time in your life, some story, some event, some person, somewhere, usually in your childhood, usually, okay, said this thing to you, said something to you, or showed you in some way that you weren't lovable, that you weren't enough, that your thighs are too big or your muscles are not big enough or you're too tall or you're not tall enough. Like somebody said something to you and you took that to heart as that was fact. I love this story. I was at this like conference thing and it was the lady on stage and she was telling this story, which it just perfectly sums up exactly what I'm talking about. And it was all about, the colors that you wear and what's the right thing, which isn't relevant, but the point is that this woman so confidently said, I cannot wear yellow. And yellow looked beautiful on her. I mean, it was gorgeous. It was absolutely gorgeous. And she had 100% conviction she could not wear yellow. Okay. And finally, we're like digging into it. We're like, no, oh my gosh, you look gorgeous in this. And finally, we said, why do you think you can't wear yellow? And she goes, well, I was wearing yellow one day. And she's like, I think it was like a toddler, like a 3-year-old, like a toddler said, oh, you do not look good in yellow. This woman took a 3-year-old's opinion to heart, wholeheartedly believing that she could never wear yellow and never wore yellow again. Like, how funny is that? Like, that she would interpret this 3-year-old. This 3-year-old doesn't care. This 3-year-old just wants chicken nuggets and some fruit snacks. They don't care what you're wearing. And they spout everything off, right? Like, they say anything. And she wholeheartedly, from that time, believed in the depths of her soul that she did not look good in yellow. Now, is that going to change her life forever? No. But how many times do we do that? How many times did we have a sibling say, nobody likes you? And we're like, oh, that's true. How many times was there somebody at school who was like, you're weird or whatever? They said the most ridiculous stuff. And at 3 years old, at 5 years old, at 7 years old, at 13 years old, right? Sometimes even in our 20s, somebody tells us that something absolutely ridiculous that's only specific to them. Maybe they don't like yellow. Maybe they don't think you're attractive. Maybe they don't like what you're into, and it's them. It's specific to them, but they say it to you, which we'll get into that, how what other people say has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. We'll get into that in a minute. But then we take it as absolute fact, as absolute, like, well, Joe Schmo on the street said XYZ about me. It must be true, as if Joe Schmo had the authority to dictate what everybody is going to do now. But we do. We hand over our power. We totally accept what they have to say. Our parents, because for a short amount of time, our parents do dictate what happens in our lives. Our parents do. But then we grow to adulthood. And at some point, when we should say, okay, you know what, mom and dad, love you or don't love you, like whatever your situation is, right? But my decisions no longer are dictated by what you do. And it's usually kind of like there's an awkward teen phase where you're like trying to figure it out. And then like young adult where you're still trying to figure it out and you're like, I got to do what I want, but I still kind of have to listen to my parents. At some point, there should be a massive separation. There should be. But for a lot of us, we don't. We don't. So if mom and dad say XYZ, it's law. It has to happen. Mom thinks my thighs are too big. Well, that's law. That's law. That it's always going to be that way because mom said that. And mom's like not right in the head. But yet we take it as absolute fact. Other people, as if they have a say in our life, we take it as absolute fact. I love this. I heard this a little while ago on social media, and it said, do you know as an adult, you cannot get in trouble from other adults? You can't get in trouble. It's not a thing. Just because somebody else, just because another grown adult doesn't like what you're doing, you can't get in trouble by that. They cannot like it. They can say, they have the right to say whatever they want to say, but you have the right to be like, okay, cool, peace out, bye, right? But it's so many times because of what happened in our childhood. We can say because mom did this or because dad did this, or like we all take internally, somebody will say something and we take that as fact. Now, the reason why is because we think there's a grain of truth. Okay. Let's say mom is commenting on your weight. Mom is sitting there commenting on your weight, or dad is commenting on, be a man or whatever, right? They're commenting on something physical or who you are as an individual. The only reason we take that into account, the only reason that it hurts us is because we think there could possibly be a shred of truth. And let me explain to you. If I were to say to you, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you got a bright red sun tattooed across your face. Like that looks so ridiculous. And I don't know you. I can't physically see you, but I'm going to assume that you don't have a bright sun tattooed across your face. But let's just say I said that to you. You would look at me and let's say it was pure conviction. I'm just telling you how ridiculous this tattoo is that you don't have. And I'm just going off and I will not let this go. You would look at me like I'm a crazy person because number one, without a shadow of a doubt, you don't have a tattoo on your face. And then you would look at me like, okay, this person clearly is not right in the head, clearly doesn't know what she's talking about. I am just going to hold the space, or I'm going to walk away, or however you choose to handle my delusional outburst that is now inflicted on you, right? I am just coming at you with how much I do not like this thing that's not even real. And you get to decide how you want to handle that. But here's what we actually do. When somebody comments on our intelligence, or somebody comments on our parenting, or somebody comments on our physical features, we don't look at that as that person's delusional. The reason it upsets us is because there's this tiny thought in the back of our head that we think, maybe they know something. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am a bad parent. Maybe I do need to lose weight. Maybe I do, maybe I am a loser. That's why it upsets us. Because if we didn't think there was a tiny bit of truth to it, we wouldn't care. We would look at that person as if they've lost their mind. We would look at that person as like, oh, bless their little heart. They are seeing things, right? But that's not the case. We get mad because we're like, well, why would you say I'm a bad parent? Why would you say that I physically need to lose weight? Like, why would you say that? Because we're worried it might be true. And it comes back to, because we not only accept the lies from other people, we tell ourselves the lies too. We agree to it. When somebody says something about us physically or something about us intelligently, we agree to it. We think, yeah, that might be right. When somebody says you're a bad parent, I'm thinking of all the times I lost my temper. I'm thinking of all the times that, yeah, I wasn't that great of a parent. And now this person's just confirming it. But that brings me to what people have to say it has nothing to do with you. Because when people lash out on you, they're really talking about things that are upsetting them. As an example, if you're a type of person who does a lot of different things, right? Like you're just going and you love doing multiple things. How many times have you been told you're too much? You got to calm down. You're too much. Oh, God, you're intense. God, can you just not be you? You're too much. And here's the reality to that. The reality is you as a person makes that other person uncomfortable with how much you're doing. It really has nothing to do with you. It really doesn't. It's just reminding that person of what they're not doing. So many times I shouldn't say so many times, but I have seen on social media a couple of people recently who have said, how do you handle the haters? How do you handle people who just write mean comments? And the reality is those mean comments have nothing to do with me. Those mean comments have nothing to do with that person. What they're saying is that person who goes on and says XYZ about like how, you're this or you're that, they think that about themselves. They actually think that about themselves. It really doesn't have anything to do with me. A while ago, I made a video, and I don't even, honestly, this was a while ago, so I don't remember what the video was about. I think I was talking about something like, hey, I don't even know. But the comment that I got, and it wasn't very many, I got one comment. The guy specifically said, okay, this is classic narcissism, and basically like called me a narcissist and all this stuff. And the interesting thing is I just talked about something like, hey, don't blame others for the situation you're in. Try to look at yourself first and see what's going on. It was something like that, if I remember right. It was something like that. And this person went off. That video so triggered them. It was off the rail. They could not take it. And then they just kind of kept going with this whole like, you're a narcissism, you need to da da da. And I thought, this really doesn't have anything to do with me. This really doesn't have anything to do with me. The reality is he's probably is dealing with a lot of narcissistic people around him. And something I'm saying is very much triggering whatever it is that he's dealing with. I'm just the trigger. I'm not really the problem. I'm just somebody who's triggering those little voices in his head that maybe he needs to look inward. Maybe there's something he's doing that he could better his life, and he didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to hear it. And the reality is, that's okay. That's okay. But instead of just going off and being like, oh, he needed to make sure to tell me that I was wrong. And I hope this is translating, because think about this in your own life. Think about other people who have said hurtful things to you, or people who have come at you. The reason they have to come at you is because you are showing them something they don't like. But it's not your responsibility to be a person that they like. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to be authentic, to be who you truly are meant to be, and want to show up in this world. That's your job. And the people who don't align with that, that's okay. They need to go find something else. They are responsible for going, you know what, this doesn't really align with who I want to be. I'm going to go find something else. That's how it should work, right? We should throw all of us together. We should go, okay, these people are into this. I'm not really into that. That's okay. I'm going to go try over here. Okay. This kind of feels a little more right. That's what we should do. But what we do is, I don't really jive in this. So now you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm not wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong for liking that. You're messed up for liking that. I can't believe you would be into that. You're too short. You're too tall. You're too this. You're too that. And then is what we do as people is we agree to it. Oh, yeah, that is weird. Oh, you're right. I am too tall. I am too short. I am too brunette. I am too blonde. Instead of all of us just going, hey, I'm not really into this, I'm going to move along, we all collectively go into this. You're right. You're wrong. I'm right. You're wrong. I'm right. This is wrong. I'm right. Because if this is right, then that makes me wrong. And that's really what people are freaking out about. If this is right for you, then that makes me wrong. And people don't like to be wrong. If what you're saying is true, then that has made me wrong my entire life. And I don't like to be wrong. And that really scares me, because if I'm wrong, now my whole world comes crashing down. Maybe my parents were wrong. Maybe my upbringing was wrong. Maybe the way I'm parenting was wrong. Maybe I'm passing this on to my kids. Maybe the religion I'm looking at has been wrong, and I've been giving money and I've been doing all these things and serving. That's a very scary place to be. And so instead of diving into this, maybe I'm wrong, they dive into, you're wrong. Because we can't both be right. That's not a thing. That's not a thing in this world. We can't both be right. So one of us has to be right and one of us has to be wrong. So here's what I want you to do. I really challenge you to, number one, start being honest with yourself. Start being honest as to, do you feel too much? Do you hear people telling you that you need to be, calm down? You're too much. Maybe you hear people saying you're not enough, be more social, do more things. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe you need to be more to other people. And maybe you're telling yourself that as well. I wish I was more outgoing. I wish I wasn't so outgoing. I wish I could calm down. Those are the things you need to start looking. Those are the stories that you're telling yourself. And I am telling you, those stories are in everything we do. It is the reason you don't have the relationships you want. It is the reason that you don't have the finances that you want. It is the reason that we don't have the physical body that we want. Because we have been telling ourselves it has to look a certain way. And if it doesn't look this way, then we're wrong. And why can't we be better? And why can't we be more? Or why can't we be less? Or why can't we be enough? And we just play this emotional highs and lows of us freaking out and just ripping on ourselves constantly. So start looking at what it is that you're telling yourself. What are the lies? Just start with one today. Maybe it's a lie. that you have to eat a certain way. Maybe it's a lie that you don't deserve a better relationship. Maybe it's a lie that you're not good at business. It could be anything. Maybe it's a lie that you aren't great at social media or that nobody likes you. I don't care what it is, but we all have something, all of us, every single one of us. I have been doing this for, well, almost 15 years at this point, almost 15 years. And I am still finding stuff that I tell myself, I'm still finding stuff that I believe. And then I'm going, oh, that's not true. That's not accurate. What? I've been thinking that for decades. I've been putting my own power or my own authority into other people, just waiting for them to be like, yeah, go ahead, do this. You'll be good at it. Rather than being like, you know what, I'm going to try this. I've been asking everybody else. This has been a recent one of mine. I've been asking everybody, hey, I've been thinking about doing this. What do you think? Because I am just waiting for somebody to give me permission to do it, which is so ridiculous. That's so ridiculous because I'm the only one who can give me permission. And let's be honest, although people in my life are wonderful people and they love me and they're great people. I have great support. Don't care what I do. Care if I want to start bodybuilding. If that's what I want to do, they're like, great, love it, go do it. If I want to start a podcast, they're like, great, love it, go do it. Like they don't care what I'm doing. So when I say, hey, what do you think? Should I do this? They're like, yep, great, love it. And I'm just waiting for that one person who has the authority in my mind, right? Who has the authority to go ahead and be like, oh, I now bestow it upon you that you can now go do this. And we all do this. We all wait for the magical person to give us permission because we don't think we're good enough, because we don't think we're smart enough. We don't think we're tall enough. We don't think we're short enough. We don't think we're pretty enough. We don't think we're handsome enough. We don't think we have enough muscles. We think we have to whatever, right? Whatever. So start diving deep. Figure out the lies that you're telling yourself. Figure those out because it is through that the only way you're going to start getting the things that you want. It's the only way. I fought my head for clearly 2 decades. We're not talking 2 years, we're saying decades. I fought this. Why can I not figure out my life? Why can I not be happy? All this stuff. And it wasn't until I started being honest and started figuring out these stories of all the stuff I was telling myself that wasn't true and these lies that I wholeheartedly believe. I mean, absolutely believed. There's no way you weren't going to tell me. I was totally that person who was like, you don't understand. You don't know what I was that person. I was the you don't understand person. And the reality is, it's not true. It's just not true. So if you are fighting your head, if you feel worthless, if you feel ridiculous, if you feel like you are broken, you are wrong, start diving deep into those stories. And if you want a little bit more extra help, I have a Patreon account that has hypnosis recordings that helps with anxiety, focus. There's a lot, and I'm adding more all the time. So if that is somewhere that you would like to start, and then that way you don't have to go and find somebody to help you work through these. You can do them whenever you want. I love it. I personally love doing them when they're asleep. And then that way you can start to work through these stories and start breaking them and start realizing that breaking the habits and breaking the pathways in your brain so that you can start going after the things that you actually like and the life that you actually enjoy living. All right. I love you guys. I so appreciate everybody who is listening within the sound of my voice. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the engagement. I appreciate everything. I am basic to bold on all social media platforms, literally everything. And I will talk to you guys next time.